But I know some people who really struggle to have any access to their feelings and just say they just can't. So I was simply wondering, is focusing for everyone? Can everyone learn it really?
Let's say even, let's assume that there might be, I don't want to say focusing is absolutely for everyone, because if, for instance, you find one person who it doesn't work, then you would disprove my statement. So let's assume that there might be some people for whom focusing is not appropriate. Then what the training does is you become, moved, fueled by focusing. And you adapt to the situation and you deal with this person who hypothetically cannot deal with focusing themselves, but you relate to them, helped by your knowledge and your sense and your skills in focusing. And so then you're better able to deal with them. Okay. So this being said, I think focusing in some broad way is something that applies to every human being, because it's not a technique, it is an observation of how the human mind functions. And so people are going to function differently, but the general principle of the pause and the having a felt sense is physiological, is how we're built. Okay, so you're going to adapt to different people differently. You're going to give them an experience of focusing in a different way, but maybe the way they would describe it or the way you describe it to them is going to be different because they're different people.
I also think that there are I'm just in the process of working with a team that's creating a new, what they call experiencing scale, where we can speak to ever deepening levels of current moment experience. And we're struggling to articulate the best way to describe those steps, and going over transcripts and seeing if we can match them. And it's a really interesting exercise. And what I tend to do, and I think I know Jan does this too, is this experiencing scale looks at, okay, first level of experiencing, very low, is just when someone's reporting the state of the world without any question about it, any sort of reflection, any sort of reference to their internal sense of it. This is how it is. And so the next level is where there's just an allowance for some kind of a shift in perspective, that my way of seeing it might not be the only way. And then another level is to actually be in touch in the body with what that is in the moment, that moment to moment, what we're talking about. That would be a higher level, third level of experiencing. And the fourth is where there is some kind of shift. So that's kind of what we're getting to in trying to simplify the experiencing scale. But what I think is when someone seems to not be able to use focusing, I can say that one thing I often suggest is going to these experiencing steps. And if they're at a 1, maybe start seeing if there's a way the dialogue can become more like a 2, a little bit more room for a different perspective. And I use dreams to do this, because dreams often carry a lot of characters that have differing perspectives, and that can kind of shift someone out of their habitual ego-based state, where they might try being a character that's somewhere on the outside of how they usually see things. But there are many ways to just kind of say, okay, we're just going to take these steps. And then maybe after a while, when someone gets used to just maybe not seeing their way as the only way of seeing the world, then they might start to maybe get in touch with how they know that by referring to something inside that tells them. And so you can use this at any level of experiencing, and say that in that way focusing it applies to everybody. But where you start might be kind of like a shallower depth. That's a word of focusing. And as you progress, it seems to be an ability that builds with practice, and that anybody can do it at whatever level they come in at. And what's really, really wonderful is that progress in therapy and life satisfaction and lots of measures of how well someone's doing seem to increase with the level of experiencing that they're able to achieve.
Yeah, that experiencing scale Gendlin created, I use a lot actually, and also in teaching, and I would absolutely use it in teaching in this program as well. And I wonder, Aileen, if what you're really saying is, can everybody can everybody feel into their body? You know, is it that some people can't feel their bodies? And what does that mean from a safety perspective and a trauma-informed perspective? So if we think about the autonomic nervous system, where is a person living in their ANS if they can't feel, or they're afraid to feel into their body? So then I become very curious about, you know, what is, and often that's happening in trauma, of course, right? It's really the thing you want to do is to get away from feeling in your body because it's not safe. So then you shift into a whole other way of working that really honors that. How wise and adaptive that was, not to feel into the body. And that's, you know, that takes time, right?
Mm.
That takes real time and real attention. And that's what addictions are often about, right? It's like using things, ways, behaviors to not feel into your body because it is not okay to feel your body. And so it's very important to notice that and how we work with people and to really honor it, because you can really do a lot of damage poking around in there when people don't have enough grounding and safety and ventral vagus activity to be able to do that. So there's the real skill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love the experiencing scale for that. It helps you to articulate, where is this person? And then you can also use it with clients. Some people really like that because then they get to see, wow, I'm really shifting into being able to feel now at a deeper level. And that feels, it's a way of objectively kind of, you know, documenting, tracking how they're doing, how they're healing. And some people really like that. And it's wonderful for us as a teaching tool.